Hey Patriots! Today we're going to talk about identifying stress and anxiety and caring for yourself. This Access lesson is brought to you by your HP counseling team, Miss Lee, counselors for students with the last names A through I, Mr. Reno, counselor for students with the last names J through M, and Mrs. Simpson, counselor for the last names of students N through Z. If you're experiencing stress or anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, please feel free to reach out to your counselor. There is a lot going on in our world today, from sheltering in place to canceled events to distance learning to our political climate. You might be feeling a lot of different things. You might be feeling sad to not see your teachers or friends. You might be really disappointed about events being canceled that you were really looking forward to. You might be worried about how long this will all actually last. On top of that, you could be worried about your parents' jobs or livelihood, worrying about your housing or living situation. You could be feeling frustrated, annoyed, or irritable. You could be concerned about relatives that might be vulnerable or you might not be able to see now. You might be feeling confused and scared, and on top of all of that, you might be struggling with school and grades and everything that comes with distance learning. It is so normal to be feeling any of these feelings right now, and know that you are not alone. So many of us are feeling the same way. We're going to go ahead and talk about stress, anxiety, and depression, what they are, and how they differ. Stress is a very normal part of life. You can experience stress from your environment. Your body can experience stress. It could affect your thoughts. Some stress can be really good, especially when it motivates us to take action or be productive. Think of a big test coming up. You might feel very stressed out and overwhelmed about that test, but that stress might trigger you to study hard and take the steps necessary to do well. However, too much stress can be unhealthy if left unmanaged. Stress presents itself in things like insomnia, which is meaning you aren't able to sleep even when you want to, and restlessness when you do try to sleep. It might present itself in aches and pains in your body as your muscles tense up or your tummy hurts. You could have a loss of appetite or go the opposite way and have a huge increase in your appetite. You could be experiencing mental fatigue, which may make your brain just not work as well and not make things not as clear. Along with that comes difficulty with concentration and focus. Like I said, stress is a very normal part of life and it can be good for you, but too much of it might need some management. Now, oftentimes stress and anxiety are used interchangeably when in fact they are a little bit different. Like stress, everyone experiences feelings of anxiety at times, maybe not as often as stress. Anxiety can be described as a sense of uneasiness, nervousness, worry, fear, or dread of what's about to happen or what might happen. Anxiety is a sense of anticipated danger, trouble, or threat, or it can be recurring fears and worries about routine parts of everyday life. A lot of the symptoms of anxiety are often symptoms of stress, just maybe a little bit heightened. You might have changes in behavior, where once you might be really happy, but now you might be really irritable. Anxiety might cause someone to avoid responsibilities. They might cause you to have trouble sleeping or concentrating, might cause substance use or risky behaviors, or chronic physical complaints such as fatigue or headaches or stomach aches. Now, depression is very different from stress and anxiety, but oftentimes they go hand in hand. Depression is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how we feel, how we think, and how we act. It causes feelings of sadness and or a loss of interest in activities we maybe once enjoyed. Oftentimes it presents itself with a loss of interest or pleasure in activities we once enjoyed, just like I mentioned. You might have weight loss or weight gain, too little or too much sleeping, a loss of energy or increased fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or guilt. You might have difficulty thinking, concentrating, or making decisions. And sometimes depression brings on thoughts of death or suicide. If you or someone you know is in crisis or feeling overwhelmed, please reach out to your counselor or trusted adult. We're going to move into the steps that we can take for self-care, which is a great way to battle stress, anxiety, and depression. You can view the last slide for a list of crisis and counseling resources if needed, but hopefully you can implement some of this self-care strategies that we'll talk about next.
Okay, so the next slide talks about the importance of self-care. Self-care is, how we take care of ourselves. I know that sounds really simple, but basically, what do we do to help us, feel better? What actions do we take to help ourselves in times where we're stressed? So it's an important practice. It can help us manage these feelings of stress and anxiety and help us to maintain a healthy relationship, not only with others, but a healthy relationship with ourselves too. So taking good care of yourself creates these positive feelings, and they basically starts with these positive feelings and they trickle down to the rest of your life. And they boost your confidence, boost your self-esteem, and overall feeling of well-being. So here's some tips and strategies for self-care. For those of you who are like, well, what do I do? How do I take care of myself? Well, here's a few tips. So tip number 1, take care of your basic needs. We all have very, very basic needs, and when these needs aren't met, things like safety, things like sleep, eating, when those aren't taken care of, our other more complex needs aren't going to really have a good time. So before you can do anything else, make sure your basic needs are taken care of. And ask yourself these questions. Are you eating healthy meals? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you safe? Something as simple as, do you feel safe? And in terms of sleeping, getting enough sleep, we have a link to the right for some sleeping tips you guys can check out. And I can't stress this enough. Going back to this question of, are you safe? If you're concerned about any of the above, especially your safety, please reach out to us. Check in with your counselor, because we are there to help you and guide you through anything that's stressful to you or any issues with your safety. Please tell us, and we'll help you out. And in addition, you can check out some of the resources in this link here, right here, during school dismissal. So anytime you're not in class, you can check out these resources because they're there for you. Self-care tip number 2. Let's put pen to paper. It's old school. So a lot of these things you can do digitally too, but the first tactic here, the tip is to make a schedule. Schedules are, I don't know what I would do without a schedule, because without one, I would be all over the place, and it's hard to focus unless, I have something in front of me I can see that shows me where I need to be, what I need to be doing. So for you guys too, getting through school, this is a really good technique. So stick with a normal routine, and structure can help us self-regulate. So on the right, we have our weekly schedule template, and you can make a copy and make it your own. You can personalize it, do whatever you want. It's yours, as well as a digital planner that you can use too to schedule out your assignments and due dates and test dates and anything else you want to put in there. You can even plug in your plan for self-care, which we'll get to later. The second one is create a gratitude journal or thank you letters. Refocus on what you have instead of what you lack. Think about the things in your life that are awesome and really, really good, and focus on those as opposed to things that you might be missing. We know that positive thinking leads to positive feelings. And when we think good, we feel good, we tend to act and be seen by others as doing well and feeling great. And internally, we feel great ourselves. We can try some journaling. This is a classic thing. It can be cathartic. It can be cathartic to get thoughts from your head onto paper, as you can see them and be better able to process them. So it's one thing to have all these thoughts swimming around in your head, going all over the place, thinking about different things all the time. If we take the time to sit down and write them out, and be able to actually see them in front of our face, we'll be better able to process them in the moment, because what you've done is you've essentially taken a net and caught the thought and put it down so you can examine it and look at it. So it doesn't seem so overwhelming, especially when we have big thoughts of stress and anxiety and sadness and stuff. So journaling is a great idea. Click over here for journaling prompts. So these, if you find yourself thinking, I don't know what the heck to write about, check some of these prompts out. They'll give you some ideas. Okay, going back, our last slide talked about self-care and what we can do for it. So this is talking about writing a self-care plan. So this is taking the techniques that we talked about in the last slide and making a plan for it. It can be super helpful to know what you need to address. Is it your physical self-care? Do you need to exercise more, go ride your bike, go run, play catch with a family member, anything to take care of your physical self-care? Even go for a walk. A mindful walk can really, really clear your head. Mental self-care, are we doing things to take care of our stress, our feelings of potentially sadness or being overwhelmed? What are we doing to take care of that? And our emotional self-care. So this kind of goes into both. So I guess mental would be more, what are you doing to help yourself feel less overwhelmed by schoolwork? And then emotional, when you're having these feelings of anxiety, stress, sadness, what are we doing to help ourselves through that too? And over here we have a link for creating rituals that feed your soul. So check that out. And the last one, I like this one a lot. Draw. Even if you're not a good artist, and I definitely don't consider myself very good at drawing, it doesn't matter. Because whatever you draw is personal to you and it's helpful to you. So you can release some frustrations by scribbling all over the piece of paper. It could be as simple as, I'm angry, I'm going to scribble all over this paper like this. And just doing that can help you ease some of that frustration. Or you can, if you are an awesome artist, you can draw a scene that makes you happy, or draw calming places or things that bring you joy. There's no wrong way to draw or to incorporate art into our self-care. So don't be afraid to just start drawing or anything. Okay, moving right along. Self-care tip number 3. Let's get physical. So this talks more about how we can get up and get moving and get our bodies moving, because it's so easy to sit down all day. And you guys are in class in front of a computer almost all day. Your teachers, your counselors, your administrators, all of us, we're in front of computers and sitting down all day too. So I can relate to this. So one thing we can do is, up here you can take an online cardio exercise class. So cardio is running and getting your heart rate up, anything that gets your heart rate going, jogging, cycling. And we have free online classes and even more free online classes. Look at that. We've got all kinds of classes. And we even have Mrs. Moran's funny workout tip. So if you want a workout tip and you want to chuckle, check that out. Other things you can do, it can just be as simple as walking the dog. If you have a dog, walk your cat. Well, I don't know how well that would work. I don't think most cats go for a walk. But anyway, do some gardening, get outside, get in nature, get your hands in the dirt, do something that gets you up and moving, but also connecting with nature, grounding yourself, helping your parents pot some plants or watering. You can help with house chores. Yeah, those are always fun, right? Well, actually, believe it or not, as annoying as chores can be, they can help you break this cycle of just sitting and staring at a screen without maybe even realizing it, helping you feel better. So even just putting the dishes away from the dishwasher, or wiping down surfaces, or dusting, or vacuuming, any of those things can help us get up and moving. A classic is to dance. Heck, just get up and start dancing. I know sometimes, I don't like to do it all the time, but sometimes I do feel like just getting up and moving around and dancing and just being silly. So that's an option too. And then other things that aren't as movement heavy, but still getting you up and engaged in something, is to play an instrument. Again, I know for me, I like to play the guitar, and sometimes if I have been sitting in front of a screen too long, I'll just get up and strum on my guitar for like 5-10 minutes, and it gets my mind right and ready to be more focused and engaged and productive. Another thing that we can do is to work on our flexibility. This is always a fun one. I am not the most flexible person, but it's still good to practice your stretching and your flexibility. So below here we have some flexibility exercises that you can check out. And over here, check this out. Free, we love free. Try a free live streamed yoga class. So yoga is a very fun and very difficult, believe it or not, exercise that doesn't use a lot of movement, but it uses a lot of tough poses. So it's really good for your balance, and it's really good for your mental health too, because it's so relaxing and so mindful. So again, we love free. Check this out for a free yoga class. All right, self-care tip number 4, gratitude and mindfulness. Okay, so you guys have seen, if you've checked out our counseling Google Classroom, that we do our Mindful Mondays. So I like this tip a lot, and I like this sentence here. So think about this. Sometimes our thoughts are our own worst enemy, and it doesn't make us feel great. It's really easy to be your own biggest critic. So let's think about how we can reframe those thoughts, and then click down here for some more cognitive, your thoughts, coping resources. So when you have those thoughts and you do start to feel like your own worst enemy, here are some resources and some exercises that you can use to stop that negative thought cycle and be more positive about yourself, because you guys are awesome and you need to know that. So this talks about being mindful. Just take moments throughout the day and notice how you're feeling, both physically and emotionally, and try to bring yourself into the current moment as much as you can. For those of you who have tried the techniques that we've posted for Mindful Monday, things like taking a mindful walk and noticing all the things around you. I like the 5 senses meditation, so things that you can notice, things that you can see, you can touch, you can hear, you can taste, and smell. And also down here, you can check out a guided meditation video, which I highly, highly recommend. I know that we posted one too, but check this one out too. And notice how you feel before you try one of these, and then how you feel after. We also want to talk about gratitude. What are the things that we are grateful for? And I challenge you, even right now, or once you end this presentation, to just quickly write down 5 things that you're grateful for. They can be really simple. They could be complex, but anything that you think, you're like, you know what, I am so happy that that's a part of my life where I have that. I'm so grateful. Also notice and name your feelings. And remind yourself that each feeling is temporary. We don't always feel the same way all the time, right? So even if the circumstances remain unchanged, you can focus and accept your feelings and your strength to tolerate them. So it's the idea of knowing that, I'm feeling a certain way right now. So say I'm feeling stressed right now. Well, I'm not always stressed. So it's almost like a wave. Sometimes when we're as stressed as we can possibly be, we're right at the top of that wave. But you know what happens once that wave gets to the very top in the peak? What happens? It goes back down. And you can think about your stress in the same way. It's going to peak at some point, and it's going to be hard, but hang in there. It's going to go back down, as are all of our feelings. And last square here talks about simply focus on your 5 senses to ground you and present. So this is kind of what we talked about here in our mindful exercises. Listen carefully for every subtle sound. Look for all the colors in the rainbow. Notice how your feet and fingertips feel. And then click here with a link to that exercise for hitting all 5 senses. And again, think about how you feel before you try these exercises. And then after you finish it, note how you feel after. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that most of you that try these mindful techniques are going to feel better after you try them. All right. Now here is self-care tip number 5. There's an app for that. So this is the age of smartphones. We all have the entire world basically in our pockets. We use apps for just about everything these days. And here is a good list of apps that we can download and can help us with our self-care. So there's an app for sleep, Pizziz. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that's an app you can download to help you with your sleep and learning when the best time is for you to sleep and how much sleep you need and setting goals for how many hours you want. It's a good app to help you with that. We also have the Calm app for meditation and mindfulness. This one is a personal favorite of mine. I use Calm. I actually like one component of Calm that is it's called the Daily Calm, and it's basically a 10-minute meditation that's different every day, and I just feel great every day that I use it. It sets me up for success. We have Color Therapy, which is obviously a coloring app. Apps like this are really cool because it allows you, instead of having to find pens or pencils, you don't really have access to them or don't want to mess around going and finding them. Since we all have touch screens, you can color stuff with just the point of your finger or with a stylus. And that can be used to be a pleasant distraction from all your classwork and all the stress in life, and just take a break and do some mindful coloring. We also have MyFitnessPal. I've used this app in the past as well. I like it. It's a really cool app that allows you to track your nutrition, so what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, and your health and fitness. So it can track your exercise. You can make health logs, fitness logs. It's just a really good way to help you set goals for yourself and to have it all written out for you so you can make your own plan. And then lastly, we have the Grateful app. So we talked about gratitude before, and stopping to think about those things that we are really happy that we have in our life and are grateful for. And this is an app that allows you to make listings of what you're grateful for and logs, and just a way for you to take it out of your head and put it into somewhere where you can literally see it in front of you. So, and there's much more apps than this, but these are 5 that we know, and they're really great ones. So I suggest you guys take a break and check them out when you get a chance.
If you need more tips on self-care or ways to manage anxiety, depression, or stress, please feel free to reach out to your counselor. Miss Lee is the counselor for last names A through I, Mr. Reno is the counselors for last names J through M, and Mrs. Simpson is the counselor for last names N through Z. You can reach out to us by email, and we can schedule a time to meet and give you more information, hear what you have to say, and see how we can support you. There are also a lot of other supports, and you can access those resources in our Resources for Teen document put out by PUSD Student Services. You can also follow us on Instagram at HPMS_counseling for self-care reminders and tips. If you are in crisis, please note some of these phone numbers that might be able to support you in that time. And don't forget to reach out to your counselor or another trusted adult for support. Even though this presentation was brought to you by your HPMS counselors, there was a lot of other people who put the information in and shared this with us. So we are giving credit where credit is due. Once again, this slide deck will be available to you with all the live links. So make sure you access that when your teachers put it on your Google Classroom. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your counselor. Thank you so much, Patriots, and have an awesome week.